We dealt with a very, very substantial, one of the largest property business interruption claims beginning in 2011. Our client was a company that was formed in August of 2011. It was a division of Pfizer Pharmaceuticals, one of the largest companies in the world. And this division was acquired and spun off essentially from Pfizer and became a standalone company in August of 2011. The company's called Capsugel. They're based in Morristown, New Jersey. It's a company with few billion dollars of revenue, 3,000 employees, operations in at least 15 different countries around the world. One of their major production facilities is outside of Bangkok, Thailand. And if you remember, back in 2011, Thailand had unprecedented flooding, catastrophic flooding in the country, which affected this industrial park where our client was operating. So essentially, beginning in the summer of 2011, there was about 12 to 20 feet of floodwaters up to 6 months, which was submerged. All this equipment, very, very expensive, high-tech, very precise equipment used in the life sciences field. It was basically a complete loss. We had a loss of the facilities, loss of the equipment, and loss of stored product. The claim value on this was well north of $100 million. Here's the good news. They had, this company, our client, Capsugel, had a series of property business interruption policies well over $100 million. So we thought, when we received the call from our client, this is going to be just a matter of processing it, quantifying the loss, right? You have to show them the receipts, right? We had to get an accountant to show how much income was going to be lost. I mean, there's some complications, of course, with all that, but really a quantification exercise, not an insurance coverage exercise. Well, the insurance carriers had a different view. They pointed to a provision in the policies, which basically said there's $100 million of coverage available, except if your facility is located in a flood zone that's identified, this very precise definition, that's identified on a map that's produced by FEMA, which is the Federal Emergency Management Agency here in the United States, and it's designated a flood zone with certain designations like A or AO or AE, things like that, and it's on a flood map, you're not going to be entitled to $100 million of coverage. You're going to be entitled to only $20 million. But this definition also said, this is what the carriers are pointing to, not only is it FEMA and FEMA maps and FEMA flood designations, but it did say, or the foreign equivalent of FEMA and the FEMA maps. So you probably guessed the next thing. Thailand does not have an equivalent of FEMA. There is no Federal Emergency Management Agency or anything remotely close to it in Thailand. Thailand government has never done flood mapping of the country, ever. There are no flood designations in Thailand, anywhere. We bring this to the attention of the insurance carriers, and they come back and say, we don't agree. We're not paying $100 million. We're paying a maximum of $20 million. We then find out that some of these carriers were lobbying Thai officials to retroactively change the law and retroactively go back and maybe come up with some flood maps, right? So they could retroactively designate this facility as would be the foreign equivalent of a FEMA flood designation. Well, you can imagine how we felt about that type of lobbying by our insurance carriers. Didn't go over very well. So we reached an impasse. They were taking the insurance carriers were taking what we consider very extreme positions in light of very clear language of the policy. And with the amount of money at stake, that was a situation where we only had one option. We ended up filing a lawsuit against the whole series of insurance carriers in the tower for the full $100 million plus of insurance proceeds. We filed it in federal court in New Jersey. Within 3 months, we had a settlement. I can't disclose the amount of the settlement. I just tell you that it was a very fair settlement that was very favorable to our client. So again, it's really an example of the importance of, and let me tell you, for a company that's fairly new, just came out in August 2011, dealing with this issue, to have access to tens of millions of dollars of insurance funding to help pay for this loss was just incredibly important to them, particularly given their stage in their corporate formation in life. But I think this example, this client of ours, and what we did for them really shows Miller Friel at its best, right? Trying to negotiate and being reasonable, but yet aggressive, but being reasonable with the carriers, trying to come up with a solid business resolution to this issue. And when we couldn't reach that compromise that we considered fair and reasonable, we backed it up. We filed a lawsuit. We showed them we were ready to go all the way through trial, and they quickly folded, and we reached settlement. And I think that really shows a lot about Miller Friel and what we bring to our clients.